weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever.
You can be in love with someone. You can love someone and and if you haven't experienced love and you don't understand it and you don't have the tools to move forward, then you're going to have complications.
What happened to Ryer and why did he vanish just as he was about to force Jay-Z into a DNA test that could destroy him? The timing is disturbing, the silence deafening, and the questions are piling up faster than Jay-Z's legal fees. Just days after scoring what many considered a crucial legal win, one that could have finally forced the rap mogul to submit to a paternity test, Ryer Satwait, the man who spent over a decade battling for recognition as Jay-Z's secret son, disappeared. The warning, no goodbye, just gone, and his family is spiraling. They're not just worried, they're terrified.
I wanted to find out who my father was, and for the case not to go how I was planning it, I really thought it was going to go different than.
So, was this a vanishing act or a silencing? Here's where things take a darker turn, because Ramir didn't just vanish at any old time. He disappeared after winning a key legal victory that could finally open sealed court documents and force Jay-Z to face a test that he has managed to avoid for over 2 decades. If the results proved Wanda's claim true, not only would Jay-Z's billion-dollar image implode, but legal consequences could be catastrophic. Why? Because if Wanda was underage, that opens the door to criminal charges. The lawsuit filed in late November laid it all bare allegations of fraudulent statements, constitutional violations, and intentional obstruction. It accuses multiple judges and even the New Jersey Supreme Court of preventing Ramir's access to justice. It reads less like a civil complaint and more like a roadmap through a hall of mirrors, one where every door slams shut. Right before the truth can be seen, and just when someone might have finally cracked the code, Rye disappears.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both.
Some believe this wasn't a coincidence. In fact, more than a few voices in the underground celebrity gossip circuit are whispering the same thing. Jay-Z didn't get his hands dirty, but someone in his inner circle might have. Because if that DNA test ever happens, the result doesn't just destroy Sean Carter, it turns him into a headline he can't walk away from. The kind that doesn't get cleaned up with a PR statement or a platinum album. Could someone close to Jay-Z have made sure Ramir never made it to court? It's not just internet conspiracy theorists asking that question. The family reportedly fears the worst. And that fear is echoing louder because of what else is happening around Jay-Z right now. The rapper has recently been named in a separate civil suit linking him to a horrifying incident alongside Sean Diddy Combs involving allegations from the year 2000. Allegations that are so disturbing, even Jay-Z himself said in a statement, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint." That statement wasn't just damage control. It was panic in print.
Blistering statement. Jay-Z accuses Jane Doe's attorney of trying to blackmail him. He said further, quote, "These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away."
So now you've got 2 legal fronts. One about a young man demanding clarity over his identity, and another that could connect Jay-Z to criminal conduct from the early 2000s. And suddenly, the one person tying it all together, Ramir, is gone. It's the kind of timing that doesn't feel like chance. It feels like a cleanup operation. Some are pointing fingers at Jay-Z's legal team. Others are turning their gaze to the inner circle, the handlers, the strategists, the people who have everything to lose if Jay-Z's reputation cracks open. And then there's Beyoncé. Yes, you read that right. Whispers have begun to swirl that Queen Bee herself may have quietly stepped into the shadows to manage the optics. Not because she's guilty of anything herself, but because the Carter brand can't afford one more scandal. Let's be honest, Beyoncé didn't spend the last decade building a legacy as the image of perfection, just to watch it burn because of her husband's past. Their empire is built on a foundation of family, loyalty, and discipline. Throw in an unacknowledged son, a paternity suit, and an alleged relationship with a teenage girl. That's not a crack in the image, it's a sinkhole. Could Beyoncé be the mastermind of a new crisis team working to surgically remove any threat before it spreads? One rumor claims she's already hired private investigators and media consultants to monitor anyone tied to the Rye case. Another whispers about non-disclosure agreements flying like confetti behind closed doors. We can't verify those details, but in this kind of power game, silence can be louder than a confession.
He, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement.
Yeah.
He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? Because in New York, and what's alleged in this complaint is forcible compulsion. What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down.
What we do know is that this isn't the first time Jay-Z's name has swirled in scandal tied to Ramir. From 2010 to 2023, multiple courtrooms danced around one glaring question. Why is this man so desperate to avoid a simple paternity test? Jay-Z has the resources to end this with a cheek swab and a lawyer. But instead, his team built legal fortresses, blocked filings, and even claimed he didn't own homes in New Jersey while property records showed other. One of his attorneys even admitted she misspoke, or misled. And now Ramir's gone just like that. Some close to the situation think this isn't just about reputation, it's about protection. If Wanda was telling the truth, Jay-Z wasn't just evading fatherhood. He was potentially avoiding charges tied to the age of consent. That's not a scandal. That's a prison sentence. No amount of music mobile charm can wash that off. So if you were one of the most powerful entertainers in the world with everything to lose and a storm approaching, what would you do?
To evidentiary value, yes, it happened 24 years ago, right? More than 24 years ago. But in the allegations, there's a few things. Number one, there's allegation that another celebrity was present at the time, right, in addition to other people. Number two, there's the claim by the victim, right, that she left, that she went and she was seen by a gas attendant.
Would you throw money at lawyers by silence with settlements? Would you call in favors from the judges you've helped get elected? Or if the stakes got high enough, would you consider more permanent solutions? This is where the story gets murky. The facts blur into fears and theories begin to crawl out of the woodwork. Some claim Ramier had started receiving strange messages. Others say he was planning to speak to the press uncensored, unfiltered. A family member allegedly warned him to stay low after a weird car was spotted near his home. And then no texts, no social posts, no replies. His last known location unconfirmed, his phone disconnected. But this is just the beginning. What other lengths could Jay-Z's team have gone to in order to protect his secrets? And if this truly was about covering tracks, we have to ask, how deep does that cover-up go? Because let's not pretend this is the first time Jay-Z's legal machine has pulled strings behind courtroom curtains. For over a decade, Ryer's case didn't just stall, it was smothered. Records sealed, motions denied, judges allegedly misled. His legal guardian, Dr. Lily Coley, accused Carter's lawyers of knowingly lying in court about where he owned property. Public records, they said the opposite, but somehow over and over the courts ruled in Jay-Z's favor. Suspiciously convenient.
So civil complaint, simply allegations, needs to be proven in a court of law. But if true, it could rise to the level of criminality. And, we'll see what happens or if the DA looks and investigates.
Between 2012 and 2023, the courts issued what Ramir's legal team called fraudulent sanctions. They claimed they were punished for violating gag orders that didn't even exist, constitutional rights. According to the lawsuit, those were bulldozed. One judge's ruling was so full of conflicting logic that it looked less like jurisprudence and more like damage control. The result, Jay-Z avoided every opportunity to take that test, and the paternity question stayed unresolved just the way his team wanted it. So if Jay-Z's camp could bend the justice system this far to keep one test from happening, what else might they have done to keep his secrets hidden? Here's where the whispers turn cold. More than one insider has floated the name we've all been waiting for, Diddy, or more specifically, Diddy's rumored cleanup crew, the same invisible network allegedly used to contain scandals, destroy tapes, and, according to 3 separate sources tied to the 200s-era music scene, make inconvenient people go quiet. This isn't some myth cooked up in a conspiracy forum. There are real accusations, multiple civil cases, and serious claims about illegal parties, secret flights, and non-consensual silence.
So what happens now is this is simply a civil complaint. And in a civil complaint, it goes through the technical legal process. Now, the distinction, Jessica, between civil and criminal, of course, is that civil is for monetary damages, right? The system can only reward you with money. There's allegations that this 13-year-old is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffered depression, etc. So now you go to fact.
Now consider this. Jay-Z and Diddy weren't just industry friends. They were strategic allies. They toasted billion-dollar brunches together, celebrated each other's rise, and allegedly shielded each other when trouble started to circle. Back in 2000, the year both men were named in separate legal nightmares. They closed ranks hard. When Diddy was arrested after a club shooting, Jay-Z caught his own charge for stabbing a Purdue. Two men with empires on the line and everything to lose. So if Jay-Z really needed to make someone disappear, metaphorically or literally, wouldn't Diddy's shadow operation be the first place to turn? Especially now with Diddy behind bars, his inner circle dissolving, and former associates flipping faster than tracks at a listening party, people are starting to talk. The timing is ugly. The silence from Jay-Z's end is uglier.
After they are done with Diddy, Jay-Z is up next to be exposed.
There's another silence that's perhaps even more deafening. Beyonce's for someone who has built a global persona on empowerment, family unity, and unapologetic transparency. Her refusal to address the Ramir situation, or even acknowledge it, has raised serious eyebrows. This isn't just about standing by her man. It's about calculated inaction. Publicly, she's carried on as if nothing has happened, maintaining her image of poise and perfection. But behind the curtain, we have to wonder, what does her silence really mean? Is it protection, denial, or something more unsettling, complicity? The psychology of Beyonce's position is far more complicated than fan theories suggest. She's not just a wife, she's a brand, a business, a fortress of polished control. Speaking out against Jay-Z, even subtly, could cause a ripple that shakes the entire Carter enterprise. But remaining silent while a missing person narrative unfolds around a man claiming to be her husband's secret son. That's not just cautious, that's cold. There's a theory floating among former industry insiders that Beyoncé may be trapped in the same web she helped weave, a queen in a palace built on secrets. And if she were to speak, even accidentally, she'd risk exposing the rot beneath the gold.
I have to still say allegedly, has done things and allegedly participated in a lot of things that the public would not be happy to.
And yet, there's another lens, one that paints her not as a conspirator, but as someone emotionally paralyzed by the weight of it all. Maybe Beyoncé isn't hiding guilt, but fear. Fear that everything she's worked for will unravel. That her children will suffer the fallout, that the perfect life she created will collapse under truths she didn't create but chose to protect. If that's the case, her silence becomes a symbol of internal war, a woman torn between moral clarity and empire preservation. But at what point does silence become betrayal? And how long can someone watch from the shadows before they're seen as part of the act? And in the middle of this silence sits a grieving family. Ramir's loved ones aren't just dealing with confusion, they're in agony. His guardian, Dre Coley, said it plainly, this isn't about money, it's about accountability. She's spoken to reporters, filed court documents, begged for transparency, and received nothing in return. No statement, no acknowledgement, no proof of life. It's as if someone is trying to erase Ramir, not just from Jay's story, but from the narrative entirely. His social media has gone dark. His number is disconnected. The legal momentum that had been building for months suddenly flatlined. And the few friends who've spoken off record say they're scared to go public. Scared of what? That's the million-dollar question. Or maybe the billion-dollar one. No, this part is not alleged. Jay-Z and his team, they have been ducking and dodging, taking the DM. Because we're not just talking about a music career anymore. We're talking about legacy. Jay-Z built an empire off hustle, image, and ironclad control. He sat with presidents. He's curated exhibitions. He's married to a global icon who built an entire brand on honesty and empowerment. But if the allegations around Ray are true, if the DNA test had happened and confirmed Wanda's sworn affidavit, then the House of Carter has a crack running straight through the foundation. A crack that threatens to swallow everything. And this crack didn't come from tabloids or trolls. It came from court documents, real lawsuits, real affidavit, and a very real young man who just wanted a chance to know the truth about where he came from. Instead, he was met with courtrooms stacked against him, attorneys accused of fraud, and a superstar who refused to even send a single letter. Let's not forget this isn't happening in a vacuum. Jay-Z is now officially named in a separate civil lawsuit tied to horrifying events in 2000 alongside Diddy. He's been accused of conduct that could, if proven, do irreversible damage to both his reputation and his freedom. And while his team calls it a shakedown, his own words reveal the pressure. So no, I will not give you one red penny. He snapped in a public statement. That kind of energy doesn't come from a man who's calm. It comes from a man who's cornered. And that corner just got smaller. Because while the public's attention is still stuck on headlines about brunches and remixes, the real story is unfolding in the shadows where sealed court records, missing people, and buried truths are starting to bubble to the surface.
Why the f would you need to sign a don't ask about a plane crash if it was accidental?
Do you feel like...
Riddle me that. Riddle me that. Work with me here in this moment.
And I'm going to ask you.
A plane crash should be accidental.
So what now? If Rami never resurfaces, does Jay-Z get away with it all? If the sealed files never open, does the truth stay buried forever? Or will someone, maybe a former insider, a loose-lipped lawyer, or a whistleblower from the Rock Nation circle, finally step forward? Because the clock is ticking. And if the silence continues, people are going to fill that vacuum with their own conclusions. In fact, they already are. The internet is dissecting timelines. Body language experts are analyzing old interviews. Fans are tracking Ramir's last known locations, desperate for answers, and still no comment from Jay-Z. No outreach, no empathy, nothing but quiet. If these allegations are true, what does this mean for Jay-Z's future? Could his billion-dollar empire unravel if the truth comes out? And most importantly, where is Rice Satterthwaite? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you believe happened? And how far do you think the Carters would go to keep their world intact? Stay curious, stay safe, and as always, trust that the truth has a way of finding its voice